Hey team, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle You podcast. It's your host, Lacey Iskra, and on today's episode, I'm going to be finishing up my part 2 on my first plant ceremony experience. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, I highly suggest you go and do so, because if not, this episode will make no sense. On that episode, I just gave a little introduction on what plant medicine is, what it kind of looks like, so you guys just have a better understanding. And I also talked about my first experience with Kambo, which is a frog poison meant to help detox the human body. So that was kind of the rundown on the last episode, and I was just leading up to my experience with Washuma, with my first plant ceremony, which happened the day after I did my first Kambo treatment. So like I said, go listen to that podcast if you haven't. If you had, great. So first, I guess I'm just going to explain kind of what Washuma is. And then I'm going to go more so like into my experience. So it's actually the San Pedro cactus, which you can buy at Canadian Tire. And you drink it. So essentially they make up this like soup type thing and you drink it. And some people get a little nauseous, some people don't, but basically after that subsides, usually about like 30 to 40 minutes, the Hashuma starts to enter and move through your consciousness. And so most people say that they experience like a lucid but dreamlike state, and your body feels a little bit numb. But as that numbness grows, you feel like your soul is voyaging beyond your body as you experience extremes amount of joy and sorrow. And worldly objects can like glow in color, so everything becomes very bright. You perceive a significant underlying energy to all of things, so you can start to see different things energy, which was really, really cool. And the world around yourself just seems to click together in like one huge expansive understanding. And this is like a very typical experience with Hashuma. Obviously everyone's experience is very different. And Washuma has been used by indigenous cultures of Western South America for thousands of years. So it's definitely not new. It's actually the oldest recorded psychedelic medicine, which is kind of cool. It's not as popular as like LCD or psilocybin mushrooms or anything like that, but it definitely was a very strong medicine. And it was very cool. So Washuma is considered to be one of the greatest of all time for plant teachers, which was very cool, on the South American continent. And like I said, it does come from the San Pedro cactus. And the main psychedelic property, I guess, is mescaline. And it is a psychedelic similar to the effect of LSD or psilocybin. And it stretches back as far as 1200 BCE, I'm pretty sure I've seen. So this has been used forever in those different cultures. And it is just known as a very sacred medicine for many people. So it was very, very cool. And kind of like just a little bit of the history. Early shamans actually took it themselves in order to heighten their senses to recognize illness in a patient to begin healing. So it was assumed to heighten their senses so that they could kind of see sickness in people. And it is still reported today. And I would also say this, that it just heightens your senses. And so it's due to mescaline, which is similar to the neurotransmitters of dopamine and norepinephrine, and is kind of why it seems to heighten those senses. And Hashuma is ingested as either dried powder or bitter tea from the most potent parts of the San Pedro cactus, and the effects can take anywhere from like 40 to 90 minutes to begin, and they can last up to 14 hours. It is, for both of those reasons, people should consider traveling somewhere to do this. Like I said, don't just do this in your living room and have a Washuma healing ceremony. You're not going to get the outcome that you want, and I definitely don't want anyone doing that. But it is very, very safe. And there's literally been like no reports of any problems happening while using San Pedro. So it is known for its body load and some remark on the nauseous and increased heart rate it can bring. But as with many shamanic substances, many consider these negatives necessary aspects of the healing experience. So Washuma is in Peru known to treat depressive symptoms, alcoholism, mood disorders. A lot of people have mentioned that they were able to connect to their divine true self in a ceremony, and a feeling of just universal belonging, the sense that we are all one, is also very common. And then oftentimes they say that during the ceremony, they are presented with tests which teach valuable lessons, and practitioners often report a deep and heightened perception of the way that the world truly is. For those struggling to know themselves or understand others, Washuma presents a unique way to specifically explore your inner psyche and your greater place in this world. So that's just a little bit of like a rundown of what Washuma is. And now I'm going to tell you about my experience. So we drive to the place where it is happening and we're all in this big room. I think that there was about 20 women. It was a all women healing circle, and we all go into a circle. So we're all sitting in a circle. Think of it as a giant sleepover. Everyone had mattresses and sleeping bags and pillows and like their comfiest outfit and slippers. And we're all in this circle, age range anywhere from probably 27 to 70. So quite an age variety, and everyone was there for very different reasons. Some people really struggling with major life things, major trauma, and some people there just to deepen their relationship with their self and start to understand them better and just continue on their healing journey, which I feel like was my intention with going. And so we all are sitting in a circle. We learn a lot about the plant medicine, just its history, all of that. And then what happens is we begin. So one by one, we all go up to, there was 2 shamans, and get our dose. And so one by one, we just tell them kind of like, if it's our first time, how much dose if we want. Do we want a small dose, medium dose, large dose? And then they serve it to us. It was basically like in a plastic red Solo cup. It wasn't red, it was white, but a Solo cup. And then you drink it back. So I was actually last to go up to receive mine. I was last in the circle. And I know I have a strong mind because I've been told that multiple times. And so that is what I said. And when you have a strong mind, you do tend to need a little bit more medicine than someone who doesn't have a strong mind. And by strong mind, I just mean like it's hard for me to get out of my head. And so you really want to like be present, feel the medicine, let it do what you want. And so if it is hard for you to get out of your head, you might need to take a little bit more medicine, which kind of makes sense. So that's what I did. I told them, I was like, it's my first time, this is my first experience, but I've been told I have a strong mind. So maybe like a medium to high dose. And the shaman was like, okay, amazing. Like this way you and the medicine can meet properly the first time. And so she poured me a full cup and then we go back to our mats and we're all just drinking it. It definitely does not taste delicious. It's quite gross, to be completely honest. And we have apple juice to chase it with. So we get it back, everyone chokes it back. And then we just sing songs for like half an hour, 40 minutes. Everyone's kind of sitting on their own bed. I laid down. I feel like I maybe fell kind of asleep for like half an hour. And then the medicine starts to kick in around 45 minutes to an hour. So everyone was just kind of starting to kick in. And then that is when the shaman said that we're going to do a sharing circle / set our intention. So we went around the circle, everyone shared why they were there, what they hoped to get out of it, which was amazing. And like I said earlier, when I was explaining it, it heightens all your senses. And so you feel an immense amount of joy and like immense amount of sadness and they're also just able to understand everyone and relate to everyone. So everyone is sharing their stories. And I'm not kidding when there was a huge variety of just things, like different people, different women struggling through super hard things in their life. And I don't even want to give an example because, again, I want it to remain confidential for everyone that was in there. But just like, trust me when I say, like, I just don't even know how to word it. But everyone just had like amazing stories of things that they were going through, and just trauma that they were dealing with. And it was just like remarkable to hear everyone's story, and everyone was just crying with everyone, and it was just really cool. So then it got to me and I shared my intention, which I didn't really know my intention going in. Like, I obviously am on this healing journey, I'm on this spiritual awakening journey, but I didn't really understand or know really what my intention was there. And kind of like, as the circle is going around, yes, I'm very present. I'm listening to everyone's stories. I'm crying with them. I'm laughing with them. But I'm also in the back of my head thinking, what am I going to say when it comes to me? Like, I'm in front of like 20 women that I've never met before. And I was a little bit nervous. And I kind of, in that thing, like, even just thinking that, something kind of came to me. And when I was like, no, I'm like, Lacey, just like trust your voice, listen to these women tell their stories. And when it's your turn, you're going to know exactly what to say. And that just like kept popping up in my head anytime that I thought, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? It was just like, trust your voice, trust your voice, trust your voice. And so that's what I did. It came to me and I was like, it's funny because this whole time as it's been going around, I've been wondering, like, what am I going to say? And that's a very Lacey thing to do, is be in my head. And I always feel like that. Like, I always want to say everything perfectly. I don't ever want to come across as sounding dumb, or that I don't know what I'm talking about, or that I'm better than anyone else. And so I overanalyze everything, and then I don't end up saying anything, or I just end up messing it up because it's not exactly what I had like practiced in my head prior to it. And so I said that. I was just like, that's very me and to be in my head. But what kept coming through was just like, trust my voice and honor my voice, and know that I know what I'm going to say. And that I think my intention of being here is just, one, to get to know women, because obviously I have this platform, and I help a lot of women change their lives and step into their higher power and things like that. And so I wanted to just understand the woman experience from different angles, really, and like understand what other women were going through and what other women were dealing with, so that I'm able to step into this role as a leader better, understanding what the women experience even is. And then also, it was to learn to understand, to trust my voice, and to stop playing small. And I said some speech, and it was like better than I thought it was going to be. And it was just like a very cool moment for me. And so after the sharing ceremony was done, we sang a few more songs. People sang a couple of their poems that they had written. And that was kind of a cool thing about it, is they told us, like, if you have an instrument, if you have a poem, if you have anything special that you want to share, like, please bring it. We'd love to share it with everyone. And so people were like singing songs and playing instruments, and it was just like a very cool experience. So we did that for a little bit longer, and then we were able to go outside for a little bit, and being outside was amazing. We all took off our shoes. We all walked through the forest with bare feet. Everyone kind of went their different ways. Some people stayed in small groups. Some people went off by their own. We stood in the river, and it was just like everything around you. You just have like so much appreciation for the nature just seems amazing, and you just feel very connected. Again, this is hard to explain unless you do it, but I'm trying to do my best here. So we went outside, just hung out for a little bit, went back inside, had some snacks. We're just sharing, talking, learning about each other. And then everyone kind of was in their own thing. Everyone was dealing with different things. Some women were having like very big energy releases, kind of like I explained in the beginning of that first episode, where you're like shaking, or you're puking, or you're convulsing, screaming, laughing, whatever. So everyone was kind of going through their own thing. And if anyone needed extra support, everyone was there for them. I had like two probably like big cries, like where I was just like crying uncontrollably. And just like releasing that from whenever that had been stored. I'm not sure, but it was just like a huge relief. And the next day you just feel like lighter. So that went on for hours. You definitely have like no concept of time in there. It did not feel like it was long at all. Um, and then that kind of just went on, and it kind of comes and goes in waves. And so you laugh and then you cry and then you laugh and then you cry. And then you get this amazing idea that's going to change your life. And then you just get these other downloads that you need to do and what you need to start focusing on and stuff in the real world. So overall, very cool experience. And then it was maybe like 9 or 10 when we had some soup, and just a little bit of dinner, some bread, and then we all just were chatting downstairs and people started going to sleep. And then I went to sleep, I slept great, and we woke up the next day. And we all sleep like in the same room in our circle, and it's just like very cool. And so the next day we had an hour-long integration where we just all talked about like what we learned, what came through to us, what we started to understand about ourselves or how we were feeling. And then just like the shamans gave us some experience and tips on how to integrate that into our day-to-day life. And so really, like I mentioned, like what came through to me was, one, it's okay to cry. Like you can cry all you need. You are loved, you are worthy, you are enough, you are whole, all of that. Another thing that really came through to me was just learning to trust my voice. It's definitely a pattern in my life, is like playing small. I think I've talked about this on here before, but for a lot of my life, like I'm getting better in the last 2 years, but I've always put people on pedestals above me because for whatever reason, I am more comfortable when I am below people. And so that came up a lot. Like, it's okay to be big, like you can take up space, you can be loud, like trust your voice, you have something to say, you're here for a reason, you have this platform for a reason. And so it was really just like reassuring that I'm on the right path and that I just need to put myself out there a little bit more and maybe take a few more risks and stuff like that. So I've got a plan. Big things are coming, and just gonna continue to learn and share my experiences, because I think that that is also a very important part of that, because that is something that really came through to me as well, is like probably every woman, honestly every person on planet probably needs a ceremony like that. And I just feel so grateful that obviously I have access and resources to that. And so I just want to share, because if you do feel like you're stuck in any certain way, there are ways to get out of it, and you're not alone, and everyone is dealing with it. And when everyone was kind of processing everything that was happening to them during the plant ceremony, you just feel like everyone understands, and you feel like you understand everyone. And it's like, no matter what somebody was going through or talking about, you felt like you were a part of it. And so it's like, we really are all one, we're all doing this together. And yeah, it was just very, very cool. So the next day you don't feel hungover. I had a little bit of a headache, but nothing like that. And yeah, the world just seems to be like a little brighter, a little bit better. And I just understand myself a little bit more and know where I'm playing small, and just gonna really continue to step into that and step into my power and my light. And yeah, so that was kind of the experience from the start to the beginning. I hope you got something from this, or at least maybe even sparked your interest in your own journey. And obviously, if you have any questions or you just feel like you want to share anything with me, also always just open ears. This is a very non-judgmental zone, and a lot of the times people are stuck because they're just carrying shame. And so if you feel called to just sharing, sometimes just sharing that, whatever you feel shamed about, can really begin the healing process for you. So always open ears, inbox is always open. You can find me on Instagram at LACEEISKK. And I hope you all had an amazing day. And if you have any questions, obviously would love to answer those as well. So hit me up, don't be shy, and I'll talk to you guys next week.